All right, guys, let's get into it. Today I got Andy, bolts and nuts. I always say it backwards. Is that a common thing? Am I one of the few, or am I just...
No, we get that a lot. It's actually funny. We get people say because they want to say nuts and bolts, and we are bolts and nuts. So they end up saying, we get like butts and nolts a lot because they mix the two, and it's just like, it happens quite a bit. No, we're boltsandnuts.com.
Yeah. Do you have both domain names? Does somebody else have?
That's our competitor. Yeah.
Okay.
But they've been around for a long time as well. We both sell fasteners, though. We're both e-commerce fastener stores.
Makes sense. I mean, one would assume that if you bought that domain name, that was what you were going to do with it. Yeah. But interesting. So you guys have been around for quite a while, but I feel like everybody kind of heard of you recently. Maybe that's rude to say, but it is your boom of marketing lately in YouTube, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've actually been around. Our company was founded in 2013 with the boom of internet e-commerce.
Yep.
I'm actually 5th generation fasteners in my family, so we've been doing this a long time. My father owned a fastener company, my grandfather owned a fastener company, and my great-great-grandfather both sold bolts. So my grandma always told me our family was screwy. I wasn't sure if that was just me or whatnot, but
runs in the family.
Runs in the family. So, and then we also we have boltsandnuts.com. We started with flangebolts.com, which we own. My father's fastener company. He was the largest flange bolt distributor in the United States. Sold to all the big guys.
So flange bolts, for somebody that doesn't know quite as well.
It's a... they're our favorite type of bolt. What it is, it's a bolt and the washer's attached. It's like a hex bolt, but the washer's already there. It's a 2-piece setup versus like a 5-piece setup where you need 2 washers, lock washer, bolt, nut. So we started with flangebolts.com started in 2013, 11 years ago now. So
right on the nose, flangebolts.com.
Right.
Easy enough.
And at the time, we had never thought that people would... The fastener industry is very old.
Yeah. Can I pause you for 1 second? I have a fan on outside,
sure.
And I want to make sure that that's not... What a horrible producer. Noise on in the background. Okay, so flangebolts.com, that was your first initial push.
Yes.
For the online. Obviously not quite as influencer.
Right. So and
available.
So we have been selling fasteners for a long time. We sell eBay, Amazon. We did really well, but there's other companies that do it, but it's about the brand now. So when we realized we wanted to sell more than just flange bolts, we bought boltsandnuts.com, which at the time was like $6,000, and we're like, this is so much money. I can't believe it. This company too, a little bit, I know I'm winding back to get to the YouTube, but the company was started just my sister and I in a little tiny garage, and we're up to almost 30 employees now. And to get there, we realized that it's about the brand and what people can trust. We all know the big guys, the Fastenals, the Worth, McMaster Carr, but how do we create a name for ourselves like that? And we just kind of fell into it, but we do. We work with pretty much all the major automotive YouTubers. The ones that we don't work with, we kind of are starting to work with and have things coming down the pipeline.
Yeah.
But yeah, you may have seen us. We work with, I have a list here. It's kind of a big list, and I always forget somebody. So we broke out Cletus McFarlane, who I think you know, right?
Yeah, he's been on before.
Met him a couple times, yeah. Cletus, Adam LZ, Boosted Boys, Brian Deegan, Sea-Boys, TV, Demolition Ranch, Diesel Creek, Lumna Acres, Matt's Off-Road Recovery, Mike Finnegan, Robbie Layton, TJ Hunt, Vice Grip Garage, Weston Champlin, and just as of yesterday, and I don't know when this is coming out, I'm probably letting the cat out of the bag, but Chris Fix as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I know almost all of them. Personally. A couple of them I don't actually know of or even heard the name before, which is
there's some other
interesting.
Yeah, the automotive world is huge, but there are some other channels like Diesel Creek. Big time YouTuber. He's in Pennsylvania. He does he's kind of like Vice Grip Garage, but old heavy machinery. He gets old machines that haven't been running in decades and gets them running again.
Oh, that's cool. Chris Fix is an interesting one too because he's not your typical YouTuber.
No.
Automotive YouTuber. He kind of does very specific one car, one job thing. So it's an interesting crossover there because it makes sense for Garrett and Boosted Boys because
Yeah.
They have a ton of projects. I've often wondered too, because like those kits you give to people are not cheap. I think everyone can understand that.
Oh, the Big Mac
It's like
Daddy.
an Ace Hardware in a...
It is, yeah.
Like, here you go. The ROI has to be pretty high to make that worth it for a business standpoint.
Understood. And we are a very affordable company for what you get. That's our Mac Daddy setup. So all the ones you guys see in the YouTube videos, that's our Mac Daddy. That's also an interesting story. That's the only reason it's called the Mac Daddy is because of Cletus. But we can maybe go into that. But, you know, that setup there, it's over 31,000 pieces. We have 3 of them. We have the industrial, we have the farm edition, the ag edition, and then the automotive edition, which is the one you see. And
what makes them different?
So they're each custom tailored to its industry. So like the farm has carriage bolts and lag screws, whereas the automotive has the clips, the Christmas tree clips, the retaining, heat shrink connectors, like things you would use in the automotive industry.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I guess I didn't realize that, the lag bolts and stuff like that is obvious for farm equipment.
Yes, exactly. And, that's our big setup. And those are expensive. The ROI, I don't look at it as really from a money perspective, really. We're a very low margin company. It's more about our brand and like being affordable to the average consumer. We don't go after, like, our customer base is not like John Deere production line. We go after guys working in their garage, just things of that nature. So the more in-home use, small to medium-sized business.
That makes the most sense. And I have 2 of the small kits. And it was funny, when I posted them, people were like, oh, Cletus got this big kit and you got the little ones. I was like, I don't have room for the big kit. Yeah. I don't want the big kit because... It would mostly sit. Like, I don't build enough things to be like, oh, I need every bolt and nut in the world. Yeah. And I'd imagine most people are in that boat.
Unless you're like a Cletus shop where they were working on 5 cars at one time and you literally are running to Ace Hardware, 10 times a day.
And even them, there's probably so many sections of that could just be gone that you're never going to touch.
There is, yeah. Because I go to restock that one. And when I restock it, it's always the same ones are gone. Like 3/8 you guys use a lot of. Yeah. The flange bolts you guys use a lot of.
And then there's probably some that are just sitting there collecting dust. And you're like, oh, okay, we could just swap these out maybe.
The black oxide will start rusting out before they use them, so I'll pull those out and then I'll put stainless in there or something like that.
That's funny. Do you tailor the kits differently once you start seeing them in the wild? Because, I'd imagine... Again, like you see them in use and then you're like, oh, okay, like this doesn't actually need to be part of the kit.
100%. Yep. So it comes back. These were designed we're on our version 2 now. We started with the original one that Cletus got, and there was stuff in there that they never used, they didn't need, that we designed initially. And we've revised the version 2 of it. So this one we took some stuff out and put more commonly used things in.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm pretty bad with like understanding all of them, and I get actually extremely frustrated with bolts and all kinds of nuts and stuff, mostly because thread pitches piss me off more than anything. I don't understand why that's not a universal thing.
Right.
Like the Nissan thread pitch versus like my Chevy stuff is like, oh, it's the same bolt, but like it's just slightly different, finer threads on the Nissan.
Yeah.
And everything doesn't thread in it. It just really gets you.
So that's really 2 things. You have the DIN standard, which is European vehicles for metric system. Mm-hmm. And then you have the Japanese standard, JIS, which is the metric system, or their metric system. And what that is your M12 and DIN is 1.75 thread pitch. Well, in Japan, it's 1.25. It's extra fine.
Yeah.
So we actually carry both, and those are in the automotive Mac Daddy just because, like...
The both.
Boosted Boy Kyle, he needs JIS bolts. He's working on he's a Honda boy. He's working on his Hondas. He uses tons of those.
But then even... when you have engines swapped cars, it gets even worse because then you have a Chevy engine in a Nissan and then a Toyota engine in a Chevy, which I don't know why anybody would do such a thing, but it gets much, much significantly worse.
Yeah.
The longer you do it. And then, so I try to keep mine at least. Personally, I try to use OEM bolts a lot of the time, and I'm sure you deal with that too. Like people like Tommy Effia, he's like an OEM bolt.
Yeah.
Guy, like it's just zinc plated OEM bolts across the board. How do you can can you somewhat replicate an OEM look and feel?
So yeah, our bolts are like commercial standard bolts, so it's not the same head mark, this and that. Grades, obviously, we can replicate. Most of them will cross match, but we also work with companies like Vico Products, where we can get OEM style clips and this and that, and then AMK Products, which is like old school muscle car restoration bolts, where the head mark is like the same head mark that you would have found on the original car.
Oh, that gets weird then too, because those guys are probably even more crazy. I'm thinking like a older Nissan, but then like an older muscle car guy is probably completely different.
Yeah, we work with Graveyard Cars. It's Motor Trend Show and Mark Warman, and he wants that original head mark, like you know. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
That's an interesting twist to have to put on nuts and bolts when people actually get like specific about the look of the bolt.
Yeah.
And the head of it.
They do. I mean, people love the bolts like Caterpillar. I don't know if you knew this, but Caterpillar makes their own bolts to their own standards. The heads are stamped Caterpillar. Now, you can replace it with one of our bolts, but there's a lot of guys that want those Caterpillar bolts. And do not ever throw those things away, because those things are worth a ton of money, especially on the older machines.
Really? Is it because they're just sought after, or are they good quality? Or
They're proprietary. They're smart. Caterpillar's smart. You know, they say, okay, well, I mean, our wrench size is 13 millimeters, or we'll say half inch, you know, and your bolt is going to come standard 5/8. You know, they do little things, or the heads are thicker, just so it's a little bit different, you know.
Just to screw with the people trying to work on them a little bit more?
Just so you have to get them from Caterpillar.
Oh, fun. That makes it really nice of them to do.
Yeah, so
it says like cat on it, I would assume.
Yeah, it does.
That's funny.
So if you look at a Caterpillar, it says cat on there.
Are they half-ass spray painted yellow or something?
Most of the time, yeah.
Just the head of them.
Pretty much, you know. Those things just get sprayed and sprayed. So.
Interesting. I'd also imagine shipping those is probably a huge pain in the ass, because they get extremely heavy very quickly.
Yeah.
Like all bolts, like even the kits that you sent me, I was like, oh wow, this is a heavy ass kit.
They're heavy, yeah. So and we lug these things to the post office, FedEx. They come to pick up, but every single day we drive the remaining packages, because, you know, you're working on your brakes for your truck to get to work, you know, and if we don't ship it that day, you have to wait an extra day to get to work. So we drive all our extra packages, and they're heavy. And I've always said, like, why fasteners? Why couldn't it be like cotton balls, or, you know, something like that, something light, you know? But it's heavy, and we've worked with our carriers. We really like working with FedEx, and we worked with USPS for a long time, and they have a flat rate policy. So anything if it fits, it ships up to 50 pounds. And man, we ship a bunch of those that are 49.99 pounds.
So you just get right under that threshold.
Yeah. And man, our guys, you should see them in the warehouse. They're all like huge, because they're just lifting bolts all day, you know?
How do you what's the source on all this? Obviously, like that's a whole thing in itself. And I watched a little bit of like how ARP kind of makes some of their like high grade stuff. I don't know if you go quite that high grade.
Yeah.
Because what is that grade?
You have like grade 9 and grade 12.9 for metric. And we do actually carry some stuff. ARP, great company. You know, they make really high-end bolts that work really well for racing, you know. We do have some stuff, like we carry 12 points and 12.9, and we primarily get them. We work with master distributors here in the United States, and we also work with manufacturers. When I worked for my father's company, my dad basically put me through Fastener College, taught me everything I needed to know to do this business, the online version of this business, being fifth generations. But I've been overseas. I've been to Taiwan. I've been to China. And I've seen bad factories, and I've seen good factories. Taiwan has much better quality than China. But so master distributors, we just kind of get what they give us. Everything is quality tested, certified, material test reports. We can provide it with every single thing we sell. We work with manufacturers overseas, Canada. Things come out of Mexico, and also the USA. So we sell full lines of USA-made products as well.
Yeah, I mean, I tend to not be a super stickler about USA-made stuff, because most of the time it's not even feasible, especially on washers and stuff like that. It just doesn't even make sense.
And I always say too, if you're going to put 5 bolts on your car and it costs you $2 from us to get the USA bolts versus like $1.50, I mean, you're probably going to go with the USA. You just feel better. But if you're using 10,000 of them and the difference is, $5,000 versus $10,000, like you might go, you might think about the import stuff more.
Yeah, I mean, it's great and all, USA made and stuff, but it's just, it's not feasible.
Yeah.
And like you're saying, there's factories overseas that are good. They're not
good, yes.
They're not like horrible, dirty factories. And
no.
A lot of people misrepresent that, I think. And
yeah,
it's interesting you talking about China, Taiwan, kind of.
Yeah.
China. It's a hot button.
It's a hot button, man. And I'll tell you, China is a very interesting country. I've been there. Not one of my favorite places to go. I've been to I've met great people, great things, but their middle class isn't as strong as I would say as like a Taiwan or something like that. So, spread the wealth a little bit more to the people, but very smart people. I mean, insanely smart people in both of those countries. And I've made some really good friends in both that I still talk to, once a month, and, support me, I support them. And, you just have to work with the good ones, because there is absolute junk that can come out of both of those countries. When you don't get to go visit these factories and see their quality labs, like they say they have a lab and you'll go over there and there's like an inch of dust on top of the machines. You're like, you're not using your lab equipment. Yes, it's in your pictures and you have some stock photos, but you just have to be really careful.
You bought it, but you didn't actually use it.
Yeah, right, exactly. It's there for show,
Used it to develop the products, and then all of a sudden you're just like, yep.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't have to test them anymore. Do you ever test any of the bolts, like you guys over here?
Everything, primarily, we do a quality inspection on incoming, make sure the threads are good. We check with no and go gauges, go gauges. And then we also do just visual inspection. We'll check, and then we'll use micrometers, check wrench, height of head, just make sure everything's in tolerance.
Yeah.
We sell to like amusement parks and this and that. So you got to be really careful, the military and just all kinds of crazy things. So we want to make sure it's within spec. Our company slogan, boltsandnuts.com, is quality fasteners delivered, and we mean that. Like, my reputation, my face is on everything for the company. My family's reputation, being 5th generation, it's important to us to only supply the highest quality products. And then beyond that, if we work with a master distributor here in the United States, they are fully quality tested before they even ship them to us. I've, knock on wood, thank goodness you have a wood table, with screws in there, wood screws, nice. We've never had any major quality issues. A lot of times, 99.9% of the time, it's over tightening. These are they failed, I can't get the nut off, you have over tightened. People don't understand torque specs.
Yeah, well, most people aren't torquing things to spec to really have an understanding on it. I mean, my torque wrench is not used really ever.
Yeah.
Maybe if I'm doing an engine thing, but for the most part, it's just
in the industry.
Tight is tight.
In the industry, we don't use Ugga-Duggas. And now I see people using Ugga-Duggas. We don't use those in our industry.
But you could for a lot of it. I mean, you said you sell to amusement parks. I'd always imagine those guys that put together those, I guess you don't call them amusement parks, those roadside carnivals.
Yeah, okay.
They don't actually do things to spec.
Yeah, that's a little different.
Yeah.
That's a little different.
Those are potentially the scariest spot to see. You always see photos of nuts and bolts just loose and just kind of sitting there, and you're like, great.
That's my kid's on the ride. You're like, oh, I'm looking at all the fasteners, and I do that. I'll see things stainless steel and steel mix. I'm like, I can't do that. Or, aluminum and stainless mix. It's that's a huge no-no, So, there's certain grades and types of materials you can't mix that I just see people do. They're like, well, I didn't want it to rust. It's well, you're actually going to create corrosion by mixing the two wrong materials,
See, I don't even think about materials when I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking they don't even tighten them. So it's material aside, they're not even tight or all in there.
It's finger tight. It looks tight. You're good. No.
Yeah, I mean, they're doing it quick. You can't blame them. It's only people's safety on the line.
Yeah, fasteners just are in everything. Like it's super important to make sure you're torquing stuff to spec, like lug nuts, and I mean fasteners are just in everything. You know, and a lot of people see us from, you know, it's an automotive podcast, see us in the automotive world, but we're in every industry, solar, ag, like you name it, we're in it. You probably use fasteners.
Yeah, I wanted to ask about the like OEM automotive world and like their standards versus maybe like, you know, standards in like aerospace.
Yes.
Military standards tend to be lower. I know everybody hates to hear that, but
yeah.
when they say military grade, it's genuinely not the top grade.
Well, I'll tell you too, like military mil-spec stuff, there you have to have certain specifications. Really what it is, it's the standard bolts that we're selling, but your company has to be accredited to supply the military, meaning you're testing, you're doing their tests that they require to make sure they aren't going to fail. So they do have some extra tests. Aerospace, that is just something we will not touch. I don't want to get involved in aerospace. That takes a ton of, you know, you have to be approved to sell to the aerospace. And, you know, a single bolt that costs 5 cents, by the time all the tests are done, might cost $10.
Really?
Yeah, same thing with like the nuke industry. You know, I have family members that work in nuke fasteners, nuclear, and yeah, same thing. Like you take a bolt, and by the time it's the same bolt, then they don't do anything different to it. It'll end up costing $10 at the end because of all the extra testing it
just
requires.
because of the red tape involved with that.
Yes.
Huh.
Regulation.
So basically, like there's a funnel, and the people that do sell to those high dollar or high tested industries.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I guess, does it cost you more in the end, or does it just cost them more in the end? Like,
it costs them too. The big thing with me too, my father's company was corporate, sold to corporate companies and, you know, into production line stuff. His flange bolt business, which he sold in 2020, National Threaded Fasteners, was, I think I said, the largest flange bolt distributor. He sold to companies that sold to production lines that would go to GM, Bobcat, you know, those types of things. And we have friends in the industry that do the aerospace stuff. It just takes a much bigger team to make that happen. The guy that files the reports, the guy that does the testing, it takes a whole team to make that stuff happen. So it's not really the money. It's just like, it's not our wheelhouse. You know, I like working with people in their garage, average consumer. And to be honest, in like a 50-mile radius, how many people are working on planes versus like people that are just working on their vehicles to get to work or
for sure
something?
It's an interesting, because I got some friends that have done some military contracting, and it's a weird thing in itself.
Yeah.
Just trying to go through that process and the stringencies of all of that. And basically you kind of subject yourself to like random searches.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
You have to like approve that, like, oh, they'll just like show up and go through your dumpster
100%.
just because. And it's like, oh, okay. Like they'll just go through your phone.
Yeah, 100%. And we do sell to the military. These Mac Daddy setups that you see, we've supplied a lot of those to the military, but it's their industrial departments. It's not like going into the Humvees or repairing Humvees. It's just like maintenance stuff on base. And that stuff is also has to be USA made as well, the military stuff, unless it gets approved to not be.
You might actually get first knowledge on conflicts happening.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they'll call you up and say, hey, we need to send some stuff to this place in the world. Or, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
You may be like inside knowledge without even realizing, like, oh, wow, that's weird. They just sent a bunch of stuff to the Middle East, huh?
Never thought about it like that. Yeah, so it's confidential. No, it's not really confidential, but we did just ship a lot of stuff to Alaska. I don't know what that means, but yeah, no. Yeah, so I get what you're saying. Maybe we do. It goes all over the world, and we actually ship it to a hub, and then they disperse it all over the world. I mean, like these setups, they're on like oil rigs in the middle of the ocean. These big oil companies saw us on a YouTube channel. They're like, we need these setups, you know? And they're another customer, the Wright-Patterson Dayton Air Force Museum. They're a big customer of ours. We supply all their fasteners for their exhibits. It's kind of cool. We got to do that too, and their military type stuff.
Yeah, so you tend to fly in and actually like hand help these people set up the things. I'd imagine half of that's for the fun of it.
Yeah.
Half of that's for like making sure that the customer experience is good.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, these big clients and stuff, we try to do everything online. We do have outside salespeople, but the big ones are like the ones that I find are interesting, are really unique to me. Those are the ones I like to go to, especially like the YouTube stuff. And what I really do for the company, I started, again, with my sister and myself. I basically built every department. I did accounting, sales. When we started this company, I would basically wake up at 6 in the morning. I would stay till 2 o'clock at night, sleep in my office chair, wake up, go home, shower, just to get back at 6 a.m. Like, that's how I started this. And we've grown to every department, and we now have somebody for everything. So my place with the business, because I like to work. Like, I work very hard. I still work very hard. I've just delegated a lot to these teams, and I have really, really good people, young people that are great, and we're growing. I've promoted a lot of people. Things are good, but where was I going with this? Sorry, Cooper.
No, I was actually thinking, because Alan told me one time, Alan, that is Garrett's business manager, he said when he had his company, his plan with departments was to fire himself. He was like, if I got a job, I would try to fire myself from that job and give it to someone else. And I was like, wow, that's an interesting way to think. He was like, I'd get that immediately to someone else.
Actually, I've talked to Alan about the same thing. He one time asked me, he goes,
he's so smart.
Oh my gosh, he is so smart. I love talking to him, and I love, actually, Cletus was in the room too. And he asked me, he goes, what is the biggest issue you face with your business? And I said, it's delegating. My dad taught me, delegate, delegate, delegate. It's important to entrust in your people. You're paying them. You're giving them these positions to be managers and company presidents. Like, I even have a company president now. So I don't report to anybody. I report, if I want something done, he reports to them. Managers report to the president, and it comes back to me. So that gives me the time to do my job. That's where I remembered where I was going with it, which is marketing. I do all our social media marketing. I manage my channel, which is Andy the Bolt Guy, which was my given birth name.
I like that, yeah.
It's not Andy Graham, it's Andy the Bolt Guy.
Andy the Bolt Guy.
And so I do all our marketing, and that's my job. And if I'm not working with our influencers and I'm not making reels and shorts and YouTube videos to promote the company, I'm not doing what I should be. And that's my job in the company. And I like being the face of it, just because I'm super knowledgeable in the industry. And a guy I kind of look at, have you ever heard of Brunt Work Boots?
Yeah.
I always see the owner, like that guy. Like, I think that's kind of cool. And, businesses don't always have like a young, energetic person to put their face to the company. So
yeah, he's very, like, being a very forward-facing. And I think, personally, that's the future of a lot of these companies, is they're going towards that, like, founder, face-forward type of business. And I think more people want to use places like that where, like, you feel like one step connected to the guy, like you comment and you're talking to the owner of the business versus like these multinational corporations that are faceless and it's not that they don't care about you, it's actually that they actually hate you most of the time.
Yeah.
They don't just not care, they actually dislike the customer a lot of the time.
Right. I mean, I agree with that, it's like, for one, it's a ton of work to do this, and it's not easy to get on cameras and do all this. Like, I am a computer internet person. I grew up building websites and playing with computers. I grew up in a suburb of Cleveland, Ohio. I didn't have a lot of friends, and I had a Windows 95 computer that I taught myself inside and out. Always loved computers, hacking Xboxes, this and that. Yep. And I always liked marketing. I taught myself Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign, Premiere Pro. I was in the AV club in high school, making our morning announcements. I was the guy behind the camera. I was never the guy on the camera. So at some point I had to get over the fears of being on camera and actually becoming the face. And now I have no problems coming to do this podcast. If this was 3 years ago, before I started doing all the YouTube stuff, I'd have been so nervous. I was excited. It's
funny, we have very similar deals there because, I might be a little younger than you. I don't know how.
I'm 34.
Okay, yeah, so I'm 29.
Yeah. Okay.
So I remember vividly my parents opening up this Gateway computer, back when there was no computer and then there was a computer in the
Right.
house. Now people don't realize that transition of no computer to computer.
Yeah.
And it was pretty mind-blowing. And like same deal, like fixing Xboxes that got the red ring of death,
Towel.
hacking early iPhones
Yeah.
to get them jailbroken so you could actually do things like first person to like understand, I guess, like in my general vicinity of like a computer.
Yeah.
Because my parents, I don't know why they got one. Like neither of them really knew what they were doing on it, but they both got one, I guess, at some point. But
Yeah.
we're both in that like transitional period of like learning technology. Now it's almost too far into it where like my son's gonna already have all the technology. He's not gonna have to like, cut his teeth on that like
wild.
menial stuff. Like even when I got my first Xbox, you had to buy an extra thing to get online, like a whole plug-in thing on the back. I'm like, this is so stupid. It's like $100 piece, $200 piece. But yeah, we're similar on that deal because I was the same deal. Like the second I saw a computer, I was like, whoa.
Yeah, so you're a tech guy. You've always been a tech guy.
Yeah.
And that's who I was. Like, you know, I hate to say this. I was the guy that, like, my friends' dads would call when they had porn viruses on their computer. Hey, man, I clicked on something. I'm not sure what happened.
Yeah.
You know, I was like, I gotcha. You know, I was, like, on call and standby. Like, I was just the computer guy and still love computers. I basically manage our full network. I think we have, like, 25 computers now. I built the server, spec'd it out alongside IT and, like, all the backup stuff. There's some stuff like we got a ransomware virus in 2019 where they hijacked our system, and I realized, okay, and they wanted 1 Bitcoin to restore it. So I realized I realized that things were a lot bigger than me now. So now I have some extra help with the IT stuff.
That's interesting. They got you for 1 Bitcoin. Did you give in? Did you give them a Bitcoin?
We did not.
Okay.
I had a backup. From 3 months prior. So it was on a random flash drive I had, and thankfully I had that. So we did not pay him. But it took us like 6 months to restore that data because we had to manually enter the 3 months that we were missing, and it just takes way more time to have to do that.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, they were probably trying to get like 30 grand from you.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I think it was like 14 at the time.
Oh, wow.
Should have bought Bitcoins. Dang,
yeah, I mean,
man.
you could have freaking got in when they were... You didn't realize they were trying to tell you to get in.
Yeah, freaking idiot.
Yeah, it's like 60 grand now or something.
Just under. Yeah, I just checked this morning.
Yeah.
But, you know, and another thing too with like being the IT guy, like I love having the people, but implementing technology. You know, like I want everything to pretty much be automated. Like it's super cool for an order to come in from Amazon. We used to hand type that in. It comes right in. We don't have to enter it. We pick it, send it out to the warehouse on a scanner. Guy sees it on the scanner, scans the product. You know, it just eliminates the chance for human error. Labels print out automatically, those types of things. So I love using technology.
The streamline of a shipping department is so interesting. If anybody's ever, you know, like early on the Cletus stuff, it was just me in the shipping department, and then evolving it into like what it is now.
It's wild.
Now is way past what I ever had an understanding of, but the streamlining of that, and a big part of it is actually just getting rid of human error.
Yeah.
And that's what I learned. I was like, oh, it's just saving money on getting rid of human error, which is a hard thing to learn as the human, that you're the problem in the situation.
Well, and it's not even getting rid of humans. It's giving humans more time to do other things too. Like, you know, a job that used to take 10 minutes now takes 2 minutes. So now, you know, we have time to clean up or, you know, do inventory or something like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it saves you so much money by like having a human not,
Messing.
you know, and not do the same amount of stuff, because if you can get one person to do less, I mean, that's the goal kind of, and ship out the same amount, but less work is nice, and less moving. And, you know, Carl at Garrett's facility is really good with that stuff. We've talked a little bit when he first came on about like, his level of knowledge and the streamlining is cool on a tech side of things.
Yeah, I've talked to
Lights that go off and like all kinds of cool stuff.
I've talked to Carl. He knows his stuff. I forget exactly his background, but like I love talking to him too because he does. He's a tech guy too, you know.
Yeah, the nerds kind of end up flocking together.
Yeah,
that's how me and him talked a little bit. We were like, oh, like, you know, we kind of touched base on technology, and even you and him are way above my level of expertise. I mean, I've never done it and never had to do it, set up like a server or anything.
Right, okay. Gotcha.
Never really had a need.
Gotcha.
I've always been like one guy.
Well, and I'll say too, also with the technology, it's better for the customer, they're going to get the right products. It does. It takes out that human error. So, and not only that, but I don't know if you know this about us, but every product we sell comes QR coded. This is kind of like our bread and butter. This is what makes us different from anybody else. Anybody can sell you a bolt kit, but how are you going to restock it? We were sitting down during the pandemic, and I could tell you the exact table and chair I was sitting in, and we're scanning menus to, look at a menu. And I'm like, thinking in my head, I'm like, holy crap, why are we not using these on our bolt bins? So you scan the bolt bin, and it takes you, every label has a QR code, and when you scan that QR code, it takes you that exact item on our website, where you can order 1 piece, 100 pieces, a full truckload, whatever the heck you're looking for. So it makes reordering super simple. A lot of times we work with a lot of small automotive shops, and the shop owner, he's back wrenching on the cars. He doesn't have time to go restock his bolt bins, and maybe one of the big guys won't come out to him because he doesn't use enough. Those types of deals, or they stop coming.
Yeah.
So he can send his receptionist out to restock the bolt bins. You just scan that QR code. It takes the writing down, going to hunt for the product online, calling somebody, just takes that out of the system.
Yeah, that makes it a lot simpler having that, because nobody wants to memorize or write down the bolts and everything and part numbers.
Yeah,
it's just a mess. Even the amount of brands that still are so slow to implement that is crazy, because it's not an insanely difficult thing to implement on. For you guys, it's probably difficult, but like for somebody that has 60 parts, 60 part numbers,
it's not hard.
It should not be that hard. But then I guess some of them you're not restocking quite as much on most parts, but still, I mean, it's crazy that it's so slow to implement.
Yeah, we have 24,000 products we implement with that. So, it's every type of fastener. It's electrical. We're getting into the abrasive. So, you have cutting discs and flapper discs, and you run out. You're the last one. You scan that QR code and go right back to our website, put it in your cart. We have so many people that use that system. It saves them so much time, so much money, because what happens is the guy that comes to restock your bolt bins, he wants to overstock them to where if you have 100 bolts in there, you finally use one after 5 years, he's going to put another 100 in there, and you're going to have 199 bolts you're never going to use. There's stuff stacked on the sides, the tops. That guy gets commission. So he wants to sell as much, and if you're not buying enough, he'll stop coming. And we hear that so much. We go to trade shows, and people are like, they see the QR code, and you just see it click in their head. They're like, oh my gosh, this is what I need. And it really sells itself.
Yeah. Do you have any return policy or restocking fee, I would guess? Because if somebody has a kit, after a while they don't use something, they're like, oh, well, I'll just swap these out for something else maybe that I'll use.
So our company, it's a 30-day return policy. So if you don't like it, you can return it in its original condition.
Yeah.
Not a problem. We have a warranty policy if something fails beyond that. And to be honest, we're a super friendly company. If you're having an issue, you didn't use it, and it was even 6 months later, we'll probably take it back. We don't charge. We have a policy for restocking fees. A lot of times we don't charge it. These are repeat customers, and I know what it's like to buy the wrong thing, especially fasteners. You're looking at a picture, you're holding a bolt and looking at a picture online, and not everybody knows fasteners. So it happens a lot in our industry, and we're a very courtesy company.
Yeah, I usually do it when I go to if I go to Ace Hardware to buy bolts, I usually buy the 1-inch one, 2-inch one, 3-inch one.
Smart.
Because it's like, well, I don't know what it's going to need once I start tightening it in there. It's like, okay, I get the thread. I understand the size I need, but then the length usually ends up being like, okay, I'll just roll the dice and get all of them.
And you'll need a 3 1/4, by the way, and you'll still have to go back. It's just the way that stuff works.
It's usually how it ends up happening to me. Thankfully, we have one not too close. Garrett's shop may be almost as close. Maybe I just go there and take off of his.
Anytime, man. I'll put him back in there for him.
I'll just send you the QR code that I took.
I'll give you an ID badge. You can go do a Cooper sign off. But
do they have any way where you could do that, where it's like who used what?
We don't, but shops that, a lot of these shops that buy these setups, they charge for the fastener. So they'll buy a setup. It's not always the big Mac Daddy. We also carry a Mac Daddy Junior, which is a lot smaller. And then we carry the smaller kits. We stock over 500 different fastener assortments of all sizes, just bags, tiny kits to the really big ones that you see on these YouTube channels. And they're really affordable. The smaller ones, like the ones you got, yeah, sorry, Cooper. I know the internet gave me crap and you crap over it. It's like,
how dare you?
Love the internet.
Yeah, how dare you send me not enough product.
And it was just like, I just want to do something nice. I didn't even want you to post. I followed you. I've been a big follower of Cletus for a long time. I was just excited to send you something, And
it's so funny. and yeah, no, I'm not really one to like. I tend not to work with many companies.
Yeah,
I'm pretty like secluded on that stuff, mostly because I don't like most people.
Yeah. I know that. I can tell from your post.
Yeah, and I don't like large companies for the most part, so I'm pretty secluded on that stuff. And it was cool to have those. And it's funny enough, that bolt kit, it's been used more by other people because I bring it to the track with me.
Yes.
So like, I'm pretty sure Brett LaSala used a bunch of them on Snot Rocket because he had to hang some weights or something. Like, other people tend to use them because I'm an over-preparer, and I actually prefer the small kit because it goes to the track with me.
Right.
And it's funny that most of the time it's used by other people, and a bunch of times the bolts even have made it back in because they're used temporarily, and then
here's your bolt back.
Yeah, it's like okay, sure.
Yeah, well, Cooper, not all heroes wear capes, and you're a hero to somebody.
Just try to help people.
If you don't have hardware to track, and that's the end of it, and you got to run out, down to an Ace or a local hardware store, that's not always close, and you're gonna buy the wrong thing when you go there, and you're gonna have to go back again. But
yeah, if you don't have the car with you, which you often can't bring into Ace with you, it makes it tough.
Yeah. And these kits, like those are like $100 from us. Those are inexpensive and affordable, which is why we do what we do. Like, I love being inexpensive and affordable to the average consumer. I'm not trying to be one of the big guys that's selling the same thing for $200, $300. I just like being the more retail version of fasteners. And they're a lifesaver just having those on hand. I mean, even here, it's late at night, stores aren't open, and you're waiting on one bolt to finish the much bigger picture of something, and it happens.
I know, I deal with that all the time because I work at weird hours. And it's standard to just work random ass times of the night.
It is.
Especially in the car world.
People are working. A hardware store closes at 6, 7 o'clock. I mean, people are at work till 5, 6 o'clock. You don't get out into the garage until 8 o'clock.
So with like other consumables though, that seems like the logical next step is the drill bits and
so we do
zip ties and all those.
Things. So we do carry a full line of zip ties. Zip ties, we're adding our electrical. We are about to add Deutsch connectors. Those are coming on here very soon. We just got them in. Cool. They're not on yet, but they're on their way. Fuses, blade fuses, maxi, all the different types of fuses, heat shrink tubing. Electrical's our next big step here, going into that.
Yeah, I'd imagine you have to consult with somebody else on that stuff too, because you're kind of the bolt guy.
Yeah.
The electrical's a little bit kind of odd, especially Deutsch connectors. Those things get crazy priced and
they do.
Quality-wise. Yeah. And then even like making a Deutsch connector clip is so different than any regular wiring.
See, and through my life, like I believe in networking, and all these YouTubers I work with, like Zach over at the Cletus shop or Logan at Weston shop, like I work with a lot of the shop guys, not primarily the main YouTube guys. I see them when I'm there and I'll say hi, but they are the busiest guys on the planet. So I'll talk to Zach. Hey man, what do you use that we should have that you don't have here? He's like, man, I'm buying this stuff all the time. I want these, and I'll talk to them. We do our research. We look at competitors, see what they carry, and then we can look at sourcing. We find the best sources that are out there, and that's how we do it. Consulting
are
and
Deutsch connectors still mostly made in China, or are they made aren't they like a Swedish thing or something?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, that's a great question. So Deutsch, I'm not exactly sure. they I believe are made in China. So
That would be the assumption I would
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, I
don't
believe.
think they originated.
no,
kinda
I think
like that.
the patent or trademark or whatever it is you're right. It's Swedish, I believe. So.
Yeah, something like that.
We have a product manager. He put this all together for us.
Makes sense.
My cousin Gary, family business.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I guess I didn't really. I've never really thought much on the. I guess maybe the funky name always kind of just assumed it was like.
Yeah, right. It's
IKEA like.
I don't even know if we're saying it right. Yeah, are we saying it right?
Probably not. It may have started in China for all I know, or it could be like AN, where it's like an Army Navy thing.
Right,
and like
right,
kind of
right.
started that way.
Yeah.
But that's where like WeatherPack kind of more from them.
Exactly.
But then even like OEM connectors are completely different.
Yes.
Than all of those, and OEM do this cool thing where every single connector is a unique thing that's not used anywhere else in the world.
That's
Very cool of them.
That's way over our heads. So the OEM stuff, we do the more general purpose stuff. You know, you can use it on a boat, you can use it on a car, you can use it on your four-wheeler, you know, whatever you're working on or building.
I met the guys that maybe I'll just leave their names out of it, but I met guys that worked with OEMs, and they said they stopped working with them because the quality that they wanted to produce and the quality that OEM wanted were so far off.
Yeah.
That they actually, OEM was too low quality for what they wanted to make. And they were like, well, you know, it's expensive because it's quality. And they were like, no, we need it just cheaper. It doesn't need to be as high quality. So they stopped working with OEMs because of that reason.
Really? Oh,
they
that's
demanded cheaper,
Yeah.
not as good products.
So that stuff, all I know about that is I know the fastener side is like they demand everything at the absolute lowest price. They will beat you up. They want, you know, they do rebate systems where, you know, we spend this, we want 4% back at the end of the year, something like that. And they require things like 50 ppm. So what that is like in the fastener world, automotive is generally 50 parts per million failure rate. So out of a million pieces, you can have 50 that, you know, have an extra thread nick in there, or so things have to be sorted either optically or manually, I guess. But most of it's optics now with lasers and stuff. But parts have to be sorted. There's added cost there, but they also want that super low price. So it's a very competitive market, and you know that's why we kind of stay out of like the big production line stuff.
Yeah, it seems like probably the best. And those guys can be completely faceless. They don't have to be
100%.
like a forward-facing company like you guys trying to like reach retail consumer, I guess you would call it.
Yeah, or just small OEM manufacturers. I mean, those are like the bread and butter of this country, and like, you know, I just like we love supporting small OEMs. Those are like our favorite customers. You know? So our products are in so many cool products that are made around here in the US. Like it's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool to see, and it's cool that there's like an actual, you know, small company like that doing it.
Owner calls, you know, like, you know, we know everybody. Those, like you said, those companies are very faceless, and they tell you one thing, and, you know, next year they don't call, and then you've lost the business. And I would hate to put all of my eggs in one basket, you know. Yes, I can make $10 million a year on whatever company, but what happens if they pull the plug on it, and then that's all gone? And like, I based everything on that. I geared up towards that, like, you know, or the economy starts going the other way, and, you know, they start cutting back and making cuts and doing things direct with manufacturers. Like, that can get very scary. You know?
Well, a lot of that's already happening. I mean,
it's happening.
Like, Stellantis is closing more factories than anyone right now.
So I'll give you fasteners go in everything. So it's a telltale sign when fasteners start slowing down that the economy is starting to slow down. It's kind of like cardboard and packaging.
Like the stripper index.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is. It sounded cool.
Well, it's strippers are a good index on if the economy is slowing down as well.
Okay, all right, that's what I figured.
Strippers can
Sounded
tell
fun.
firsthand if people have less cash than earlier.
Throwing coins instead of dollars.
Exactly. Yeah, it's similar. It's the bottom of the totem pole in a way, where like not bottom of the totem pole on that, but like, you know, the first thing to notice.
Yeah. Don't want to get hit with change. It hurts a lot more.
Exactly. Or loose nuts and bolts.
Yeah, right.
So you were saying.
You know, like I would say since the pandemic, and a big thing with e-commerce too. So we were busy before the pandemic, and when the pandemic hit, we were 4 times busier. Literally, the day they said they were going to shut everything down on a Friday, come that
March, right?
March,
Something like
February,
March,
yeah,
something
maybe
around there.
March, yeah, or somewhere around there. But so we came in, they did it on a Friday, announced it. So Monday, unless you don't go in unless you're required, essential company.
Don't be a deplorable.
I know. I'm sorry. Essential company, which we are, because fasteners fix things, ambulances, fire trucks, whatever. So we went in. We were 4 times busier. So, like, let's say on a Monday, our busiest day, because we're closed on weekends, and most people shop online Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Payday's Friday generally. So we were 4 times busier. So we would normally have like 200 orders on a Monday. We came into 800 orders like that Monday.
Oh, wow.
It was crazy. I mean, it was like boom. And it's been hot, super hot for, 2024? So, last 3.5 years. But in the last couple months, it's starting to we're not like going down, but it's tapered off, just the go. And it's just the economy. I've talked to a lot of my business friends, same thing in almost every industry.
Yeah, it's like what do they call it? The softening, the soft landing, they try to say, and things like that along those lines. But, even with that, what were you guys fighting with supply chain? Because that was the other huge hot button.
So that was kind of a nightmare, but luckily for our company and being 5th generations and a family business, we've all been doing this a long time. And when I say 5th generation, it's all different companies. But, like my cousin works for me. My uncle was working for me. My sister works for the company. My sister's wife works, we're a family business. So we know the entire industry. So when our main supplier's out, we have B and C vendors we can go to. So we didn't have as much trouble with that. And if we did, our thing is let the customer know immediately, hey, and everyone knew it was happening. Not everybody was as accepting of it, but, most customers understood. Or we could deviate. Hey, you ordered a zinc yellow. Hey, we have them in zinc. Or FOSS. Can you use something like that? Or, hey, this flange bolt just doesn't exist in the United States right now. I can't get it to you tomorrow, but can you maybe use this hex bolt?
Interesting. Yeah, it was funny because I was technically essential at the time too because I was entertainment.
Yeah.
Which is
stripper.
The dumbest thing of all time. Yeah, I was a circus exhibitioner.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
That was how it was classified for a while. What we did with Garrett was a circus. For insurance.
No, I gotcha. Oh,
it
really?
makes sense. It sounds like a circus.
It's a circus over there sometimes. The things I see.
So that was the only way they could insure it as a circus.
Yeah, that's funny.
But yeah, we were technically essential too, which is the dumbest thing of all time. In my opinion, everybody was essential for themselves. Like I was essential for my own paycheck. So
yeah, right, exactly.
You would think.
Yeah,
but
unless you're a restaurant, I mean. Really, it was like restaurants they really kind of went after. So
that was kind of it.
Yeah, I mean,
the service industry.
The food, which is essential,
Yeah.
But, and the other thing too that I've seen, like with the pandemic, we had a huge boom. E-commerce just had a boom. It doesn't matter what you were doing because it forced a lot of people to buy online for the first time.
Yeah.
They shut down hardware stores and people didn't want to go to the store and, people buying for the first time, they realized, oh my goodness, this was so easy. It just came right to my door. So they never went back, So it was a big boom for e-commerce. And then I also noticed the YouTube world, a lot of new YouTubers came up, a lot more views because people were at home and watching entertainment,
Yeah.
So.
It seems like it's on a weird bust now of huge amounts of new YouTubers and views, and now it's starting to reel back down.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are kind of panicking across platforms from what I've seen too, which is interesting. And because not just YouTube, everybody's views across multiple platforms, besides some of the staple guys, they'll always have good views.
Right.
But everybody's kind of in that same boat, maybe because there's so much content. That's probably a whole problem in itself, is that it's
too much.
10 content creators for one consumer.
It's right. I mean, how much time in a day do we have to watch all this stuff? The big guys, they have it dialed in. If you want entertainment, you're going to watch, any of the guys I listed essentially. Those they're all pioneers. They do it right. And, some of these other guys, it's kind of I don't want to say copycat, like copycat a little bit, or if it's been done, those types of things.
Yeah, follow the leader. I get
the leader, yeah.
Yeah, I get slack sometimes because, I've changed my content strategies throughout the years. And it's just because when I see something that's so washed out, I'm like, okay, well, like, everybody's building race cars. Let me try something different because everybody's doing something, so that clearly isn't going to work for everyone.
Yeah, well, we needed an automotive YouTube podcast guy, which is you, that, has connections to all the YouTubers like myself. And, I think it's very unique what you do and really cool. And I reached out to you when you started the podcast. I've only met you one other time. It was I don't know if you remember meeting me. Indy.
Yes, I do.
At a Cletus event. I just stopped by, said hi. And
I do remember. Because I knew when you came here, I was like, we've met before. Yeah. Where I couldn't place my finger on it, but I know we had met before.
Yeah, it was Indy. It was one of the Cletus events. I just came and said hi because I've been watching Cletus forever. Big fan of yours, too, and I always have been. And I asked you to be on your podcast just in a DM or something. Yep. We've talked in DMs a couple times. And
yeah, I'm cursed by met a lot of people bad with names.
That's kind of my deal, too. Yeah. That's why I have a list here of, don't want to make anybody angry.
Your back of the napkin sheet.
Yeah, exactly. It's the hotel paper.
Yeah. So who's the worst to work with?
Oh, absolutely. Oh, let me see. What is the funny answer?
You can say it's Garrett. I understand.
Yeah. No, well, Whistling Diesel. No, he was awesome. No.
Do you know Taylor Ray?
I've talked to Taylor before.
Okay.
Yeah, so...
Because he probably is one of the more... he probably tightens more bolts himself than any of those.
Yes.
Not to take anything away from them, but he probably actually hand builds more cars than anybody on those lists.
He's a very technical guy. I've watched his videos and I know his bolt setup. I look for bolt setups. That's just what I do. It's like my eyes attract to it.
Yeah, he's got the Milwaukee wall.
Yes, and he's got bolt bends. I've talked to him. What ended up happening was these setups and me traveling all over the country, it costs a ton of money to make this happen. And, I can only be in so many places at so many times that I sometimes have to put marketing on pause so I can give my full attention to the people I'm working with. I don't want to give everything to everybody because it takes away from the guys that we work with already. But I would love to work with Taylor, and I think we, as long as he would like to make that happen, I think we can make that happen.
Yeah, Taylor's a good contact. I just thought of him because he's one of the few people that actually I know of that really has the channel side, but all the size of his channel, but still is so hands-on with all the cars. And that's nothing against Adam LZ or Garrett, but they're not as
yeah, they got
tightening
teams.
The bolts.
They have full teams. I mean, I've definitely seen them tighten a couple bolts, especially Cletus with the tow trucks.
Yeah.
But yeah, I get what you're saying. They have teams behind the scenes, like Adam, Johan, and these guys have freaking awesome teams.
Yeah, they have professionals, which is nothing wrong with that. That's the goal, is to hire, with your business, you want to hire a professional to do the job.
I can't do everything. Of course I want to go out and quality inspect everything, but I can't because I have other things I have to do. And, these guys, they're in charge of making content and leading their channels and this and that. And if you're spending all of your time working on the car and this and that, you just won't have time to make the content. So,
Yeah, so it makes sense. And I wasn't trying to take anything away from anyone,
No. Yeah.
Garrett's never actually worked on anything, guys. If you didn't know, it's all CGI.
It's CGI.
It's all fake. He's never tightened a bolt. He doesn't know what a wrench is.
It's Jack Stan. They put him in a big Cletus costume, and he's put big fake arms on him. Exactly. Stands on stilts.
It's all fake.
I don't know if you want to hear the story how I got involved with the YouTube world. I think that's a pretty cool one.
For sure. I was going to ask about Chris Fix next, too, because I really like Chris.
Oh, my gosh.
I don't even know how... Yeah, he has said that he's moved to Florida recently.
Yes, okay.
So I'm not breaking any news there. He said that on his Instagram the other day, that he's in Florida.
I didn't hear that, but I'm going to go with Cooper's word. Sorry, Chris.
Sure. He lives... We've met up a bunch of times. He's not far.
So I saw him take his helmet off yesterday. He took off his helmet and he actually had another helmet on. It's crazy. They're
weird,
infinite
right?
helmets. Yeah, it's wild.
He was born with it.
He was born with the helmet.
They actually sell helmets that are not safety approved. They're just for show. Which is a weird thing. I didn't realize that because safety approved helmets are a couple $1,000s sometimes.
Right.
So you can buy just like a just for show helmet that's like not technically safe. I don't know if his is a just for show helmet.
I don't know. I'm actually going to see him again later, so I'll check. I'll reach inside and see if it's DOT approved or whatnot.
Yeah, make sure.
Yeah.
See if it's got the what do they call it? The 15 is where we're at now on drag racing. It's like Snell 15 or something.
Right, a Snell. Okay. Yeah, he and I hope his helmet's breathable too, because man, that guy being down here in Florida, you'd think he'd want to move more north.
Yeah.
It's hot down here.
I know. I was at like an autograph signing with him in Florida, outside, and he had the helmet on for hours.
Yeah, that's wild.
It was crazy.
It's wild.
I'd never seen anything like it.
I don't know. He does it, and he's never been seen without his helmet.
No.
Yeah.
Funny story. One time we met him at SEMA, and it was me and Garrett in line at the airport, and Garrett was like, "Oh, let me take a picture with you," and posted it without realizing that he had never shown his face.
Oh,
and Garrett
God.
basically doxed him in a way.
Oh, that's
and
funny.
took it down pretty quickly after, but like it was pretty funny to see.
He told me a funny story yesterday, and I don't want to tell all his stories because we were there yesterday, and we actually went to dinner with him last night. And he is just salt of the earth guy, super nice guy, super technical. He is like so many careers before the stuff he does, the automotive, being the biggest automotive YouTuber, like just a really cool, down-to-earth, smart guy. He helped us all day yesterday putting together his...
The guy like builds houses for veterans. I'm like, come on, man.
Yeah, he's unbelievably
Cut it
nice
out,
guy.
please.
I mean, just salt of the earth. But he told me he was at SEMA, and he'll be with his other YouTube friends, and they'll be like, "Hey, man, do you mind holding the camera while I get a picture of the YouTubers that they know by face?" And he's like, "I'm the biggest guy. Like, they're just making me take the pictures, holding the camera, which is funny. Because
he did that for me once. We were at Cletus. Because he was at the Cars and Coffee at the Freedom Factory.
Yeah.
And he was literally holding the camera, taking photos
People
with other for other YouTubers. I'm like, this is so funny.
Good for him because he's incognito. He can go out in public, but it's sometimes kind of cool to be recognized. So I don't know how he feels about that.
I think he's just part of witness protection.
Yeah, maybe that's
very low key.
Oh, maybe I should do some more research. Maybe something's going on and he's hiding from somebody. I don't know.
Witness protection, like in Joe Dirt. That's why he moved from New Jersey down to Florida. It's part of the witness protection program.
But he is such a great guy. I mean, he's not entertainment to me. He's entertaining. Don't get me wrong, but his is more like how-to.
Yeah.
Like Cletus, huge, tons of views on a video, but after a week goes by, it's not the same amount of views. But these how-to videos, like how to change the oil in a car, people are going to search that on YouTube for as long as YouTube is there.
Yeah, very evergreen.
So his views, I feel like, yes, he gets a big jump. He has over 10 million subscribers on YouTube, which is insane. But, his views, I think, do really well, flat for a long time because people just search that.
Yeah, and then it's interesting, though, because, like, I didn't realize, like, how-to video would have such diehard fans, but people are like, when's your next video? And I'm like,
oh, yeah.
How are you waiting for a video on, like, something that's, like, might not be anything, like, that you need at that moment, but you're, like, waiting for, like, oh, I hope it's, like, how to fix a broken mirror.
Yeah,
or, like,
Yeah, I agree, but, I mean, they love him, and he's just a super unique person. Hey guys,
I know. I've been trying to tell him to like make just like regular videos of like things that you want to make. Like don't force yourself into the box of like how to. I also told him, I said just start a like Chris Fakes 2 channel and just re-upload old videos.
Yeah, right.
I just said just start uploading old ones again. You'll get new fans, new views.
That's funny, man. But yeah, he's very unique, and maybe that's why he does well. And a lot of these very successful YouTubers I have found is they are characters on camera and off camera. Like, there is a reason why there's a guy with 3 million subscribers and a guy with, 1,000 subscribers. There's just something special about them. They are like the movie stars. Like, I couldn't go be a movie star. I'm not, super tall and good looking. But these guys are characters. They're funny on and off camera. Like Whistling Diesel, everyone sees him destroying stuff. But he is... From what I saw him when I hung out with him, he was just so nice to us and very accommodating and, hung out with us, spent time with us, just talked with us. And these guys have a million things going on.
Some of them are like almost completely opposite though, where they're like quiet. They're like,
oh yeah,
like secluded,
Yes.
quiet, like kind of introverts, and you're like, wow, that's very interesting.
yeah,
And like maybe because I grew up in my parents at retail stores, it kind of
okay.
forced you to be like, hey, you're working the register today at 14, 13,
Yeah.
12 years old, like you're gonna have to talk to everyone.
Right.
Like, tough break. So it's like you kind of have to be extroverted a little bit, as much as I didn't want to.
yeah, it forces you out of your shell. I mean, that's the same thing with like all these YouTube shorts and reels and stuff. I was terrified of public speaking, and I started getting asked to speak more at this, and I was on camera more. I always like being behind the technical person, setting up mics and this and that. But I actually did stand-up comedy. I haven't done it in like 5 or 6 years, but to force myself on stage to talk to people on a microphone,
Yeah.
and that's how I taught myself how to public speak.
Oh, that's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
Go up there and like you gotta bomb a little bit, and you gotta
You do. I mean,
hear the
oh,
quietness.
And then I got really comfortable, and it was like almost dangerous. I'm like, man, I love talking on a mic now. It's almost like a high. Like,
Yeah.
it's like a drug, It's wild.
You gotta like learn how to command the audience and the room in a way. Yeah.
Yeah, you do, and you read the room and feel the room, and people will boo you or they don't like a joke you said. They'll tell you stuff after, and it was interesting. I was always a big fan of the Kill Tony podcast.
Oh yeah, he's good. My
Yeah.
wife is a huge fan of Tony.
Yeah,
like
I
the
love
show,
Tony,
but she's
Tony's
just
a big fan. I'm a big fan of Tony.
big fan of Tony.
I met him I don't think like 3 or 4 times now. He's from Ohio, Youngstown,
from
Ohio,
Youngstown.
and I basically built my business watching Kill Tony. I've watched literally every episode. I watch it every week. So I always wanted to try stand up, and I think I'm a little funny at least.
Yeah.
I mean, no one else does, but
I've been in a similar boat. Unfortunately, around here, there's not really much clubs around here,
Yeah.
and the one local one is like 60-plus-year-olds, so it's not quite the
Yeah,
feel that I
right.
think I would be able to
Interesting
go
crowd.
for.
Inter-
It's Florida, they're all retirees.
Hey, what happened to all the oatmeal cream pies?
Yeah, you got to go up there with like some
What happened to
Boomer
Werther's?
Plus jokes.
Yeah, right, exactly. Hey, what about this internet?
Yeah.
So
how did you what was the first YouTuber? How did you get involved in
so
all
this
that?
is a very interesting story. And this was right after the pandemic. This was this happened maybe 2.5 years ago, whenever PRI is. I think it's December. So we had a kid that we hired. It's just so many connections here. But we had a kid we hired. He was like my brother. He works for this company. They go to this PRI trade show. And we do trade shows. We never did a racing trade show.
Yeah.
Which is up in Indy. I mean, I'm sure all your fans know what PRI is.
Great trade show.
Unbelievable. I've never done SEMA. But
The people are great
Yeah.
at PRI. Yeah. It's awesome.
At PRI, I mean, you guys are all like-minded guys. I mean, it's really a cool experience. But so this kid, literally like a month before PRI, we got in. He's like, "Hey, my brother's going to PRI. Like, I think we should do this." And it's like, okay, we looked into it. Hey, it's just another trade show. We're available. Let's do it. This was the same time that we had just rolled out these QR-coded labels, and we didn't have everything done. It wasn't really on the market yet. And we're like, I don't know. So we decided last second to bring the QR-coded bins, labels with the QR codes. They used to not have QR codes, just our part number. And it was the best decision we ever made, because what happened was we brought the system up, and Jack Stan Jimmy was walking around. I was not there. I would have known. I would have died, like literally. I didn't know, so I had to leave for something. I was only there for the setup and the first day. Well, he was walking around. They were looking for a fastener person to work with. So he said he had 5 cards. He told me this after the fact. He's now a buddy of mine. Actually, everybody I work with I've become good friends with and partners. But he said he threw away 5 other fastener companies' cards because he saw these QR coded labels. It's a YouTube shop. They don't want people in their shop. They like the idea to scan, can reorder. Yep. Super simple. So we had no idea. We talked to him. So about 2 weeks later, again, I wasn't in the office. We got a call from a guy named Cletus. So the office called me. Cletus McFarland called. The office called me. They're like, well, we got a guy from Florida that just called. His name's Cletus. I'm like, okay. I mean, we are in Florida. It's probably not the only Cletus down here.
Yeah.
So,
Bradenton, at least. Yeah.
So there's probably a whole cult of you guys, or them. But so we looked up on the caller ID, Garrett Mitchell. It's like, oh my gosh, this is huge. So I started freaking out. I was on the road. I could tell you which highway, probably tell you the highway marker I was at. I started freaking out because 2 years prior to this, I reached out to two YouTubers to work with, Cletus McFarland, Whistling Diesel. I was laying in bed at night, just made a general message, DM, sent them a DM, never heard back. So we ended up getting to work with Cletus and both Whistling Diesel after the fact. So it was kind of like a dream come true thing to me. So we flew down, talked to him on the phone, said, we want to give you a Mac Daddy setup. And that right there is how we coined Mac Daddy, because
you're speaking his language. Yeah, I can tell you that's speaking Garrett's language for sure.
Yeah. Maybe that's how I got the contract.
Yeah.
So, that's how we met him. He put us on a standalone video when we delivered on his second channel, which he didn't have to do.
Yeah.
Just a huge thing for us, and I am forever thankful. Thank you, Garrett.
The second channel that probably gets hundreds of thousands of views.
Yeah, right.
Still.
I think it's got 300,000 views on it. So, was absolutely huge. He put us on camera. And I was insanely nervous. This was kind of like the public speaking nerves I had. And I knew this was a big deal. I was a huge fan. I was fangirling out. So this was the biggest deal to me. And I thought I was going to be done. I was almost relieved after that setup that night. I'm like, whew, thank goodness. Well, next thing you know, my Instagram DMs just started blowing up. Blue check mark, blue check mark, blue check mark. It was Adam LZ, Whistling Diesel. I want to buy 8 of those. It's all right, man. But he's above and beyond everything. But
yeah, he's got to go big.
He's got to go big. He's got to one up everybody. Yeah, to the ceiling. And he actually said that he wanted his to be stacked on top of each other, not like this.
How did I know?
It's just unbelievable. But so it just started this whole YouTube thing for us. And my job there was to run the company, do this, and I stopped working for my dad's company, National, because I didn't like corporate. I hated traveling so much, and really now all I do for my company is travel, do market. I'm on video, so it created this whole new thing for us. And so now, I travel. I don't know. Probably this year alone, I've traveled 16. Or more times. So all I do is travel for it. But yeah, that's how we got involved in the YouTube world. And, Cletus really put our name, took it to that next level. Yes, we were out there, we were doing all right, but that really put the brand name on people's tables.
Yeah, that's a cool way to get in with him first too, because, he's obviously top of the pyramid in a way.
Yes,
and it's interesting that it kind of trickled down from there. Sometimes it goes the other way, but that's pretty cool. That's cool that it worked out like that.
We started at the top, and a lot of these YouTube guys, they look up to Cletus. They really do. He is just a true pioneer, and it's the freedom, it's the America. How do you not like that?
A lot of people follow right in that footsteps with good reason. It's kind of silly to. In some sense, it's silly to try to carve a different direction when there's already clearly one that you could follow.
Yeah.
But everybody's got their different style. That's such a cool. That's a cool way that worked.
It's and then all now because of PRI.
Dozens of people with the Mac Daddy setup on YouTube.
Yeah, on YouTube. Yeah, I've been to all my favorite YouTube studios.
Does Boosted Boys have the big one too?
He does. Yes, Boosted Boys does. We started him off. So again, we get such a volume of people that reach out to us for sponsorships and marketing. I just can't be everywhere. And it takes away from the other people we work from. So we have to be selective, and we look for certain things, like guys that work on things in their garage. We love to see the bolt bins in the background. If you're out, you're only doing street racing, that might not be the channel for us, because we like seeing the setups in the shop.
Yeah. Yeah, it's important to have that. I have a lot of coffee bins. Yeah, I have lots of bolts filled.
Okay, that's something. Well, we'll fix that for you.
Yeah, well, sometimes I'm a little weird about this though, because sometimes I like OEM bolts, so I'll clean them and I'll save them and I'll label Ford, Chevy,
smart,
Toyota, and I just clean the old ones and save them a little bit, because those also kind of
Yeah,
saving
don't
a
throw that
pinch.
stuff away. That actually, every time I see a bolt thrown away, if it's not broken, I start crying.
It is kind of sad.
It is super sad.
Especially when, like, you know, sometimes they're only used for a little while, like even like a nice one.
Yeah.
So it's even more sad to see those
It is.
get wasted.
Yeah.
I've shaved quite a few down from like wheelies and stuff too.
Yeah, I've seen that, man. Gosh. Yeah, you're wild.
That's cool. Is there anybody on the list next? This
Yeah.
is a couple weeks out.
Yeah, okay. So we just did Chris Fix. We have Matt's Off-Road Recovery. They're building a new shop, working on a shop. And then, so we're going to have a Mac Daddy in there. And then Zach Millennial Farmer, which I am so excited about. I have been a big fan of Zach for a long time. It's different from the automotive world.
Yeah.
I mean, this is like a new avenue. And Matt's Off-Road is too. That's kind of like the overlanding side, non-drag racing side. But Zach, farming is a huge part of our business, you know, and farmers are really what drive this country, you know. I mean, so we go to farm trade shows. These guys literally just try to hand us money for bolts. We're like, we don't actually sell anything here. Like, the amount of stuff and weight I would have to bring, like, I just can't. So we work with a lot of farmers, and I've been a big fan of Zach's for a long time. So I'm super excited. We're going down there in about the next month. So
Yeah, Zach has a very deep-seated like fan base of farmers, which is very interesting.
Yes.
And he's also a racer
He
on the
is,
side,
yeah,
which is funny.
And I talked to him on the phone a couple weeks ago. He is like, and I say this about everybody I work with, like, just super nice, salt of the earth guy. I mean, really just a super nice guy, and, you know, very accommodating to us. We had some scheduling conflicts of getting out there, just, you know, with me and stuff, but just a super nice, understanding guy. And like I'm excited to go there and work with him, and, you know.
Well, you know, it like YouTube kind of boils out like the shit in a lot of ways. Like a lot of the people that, you know, aren't like good people or
Genuine.
real get
Yeah.
pretty boiled out quickly because you can't be on camera for that long without showing your true honest side.
Yeah, that's very true.
And this podcast, me doing a podcast, I've learned that quickly, where you talk to somebody for long enough on camera, like their true side is gonna boil out. They can't really. You can only kind of fake it for so long, maybe like quick clips or something. But
Right. No, that's true.
the
And
true side always ends up surfacing.
I would love to work with everybody. Don't get me wrong, but I just can't. Time just doesn't permit. But there was one channel, very big channel, that reached out to me. They're still around. They still make videos, but it really wasn't shop videos. And he was like, hey, we need some bolts. We're working on these specific vehicles, and we want your setup. I said, well, okay, I will give you a smoking deal on it, but I can't, like, come out there, fly it out there, set it up. Like, I just can't give it to you, you know? It's like, I don't think you understand what I'm offering you. I was like, no, I understand, but I have so many other commitments. Like, it's just not, like, in our wheelhouse. And, like, 2 weeks after that call, like, just bad taste in my mouth. And these guys could easily afford this stuff. And, like, 2 weeks later, I want to circle back to this, and you don't understand. And it's like, all right, I'm sorry, man, it's just not going to work out. So I've had that. And, you know, thankfully, everybody I work with, I really, really enjoy. So.
Yeah, that's probably the best way to go about it. And
they're genuine.
I worry about that with stuff too, is like you gotta, like, not all marketing dollars are the same, and you gotta be prepared to turn down people, and like be prepared to, like, you know, offer discounts. And when I talk to people a lot, like I've talked to a ton of different brands, I usually like start off relationships with like, just give me it at cost. Like, it's not gonna kill you. Like if in 2 months you're like, oh, I hate that guy, you're not really, you didn't really lose a whole lot. Maybe some time of conversation and like shipping and stuff, but like, I'm not trying to steal it from you. You don't make money. I still give you money. Like, I still paid for it. I try for cost. Maybe that isn't the best route, but it works pretty well because nobody can ever really be too mad.
No, and we do that. Like, I offer costs all the time. Sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't. Like, you know, I don't want to tell people no. So, you know, I can't just be like a full sponsor for everybody, you know? So I do offer things at cost, or like insanely low discounts where it actually costs us money. Because I'm not in it to make money, really. Like, it's more about exposure at that point. And, I'm just trying to be friendly and make it work out to help with some of the costs. Like, even, like, traveling all over just costs a ton of money. Hotels, cars, I have 2 kids at home. I have an 8 and a 3-year-old, 2 boys, and like takes time from them, and it's a lot. It's taxing sometimes. So.
Yeah, that's definitely brutal to go. I mean, my wife would not be thrilled about that right now.
My wife is probably mad right now. Keep getting texts. Yeah.
My
Love
wife
you,
would
honey.
not be thrilled about that. Yeah, so I definitely see that.
Yeah, it's tough, but it's for the greater good. She stays home, she takes care of the kids, and make sure they have lunch, and I'm out running the business, and
2 boys is a lot. That's like
it's a lot, and it hurts.
Professional wrestling at the house.
Yeah, oh gosh, yeah, you're telling
I have an
me.
older brother, so I understand.
Yeah, you've lost a lot.
I mean, there's been broken arms and noses for sure.
So we're getting there. There's a big age difference, but yeah, my 8-year-old, he definitely starts beating on my 3-year-old. I'm like, all right, buddy, you're a little too big for him. So
that is a little different. Yeah, I guess because me and my brother are 2.5 years apart. 2 years
closer.
Ish. So it's like it was a little easier for him to justify
Bruisers.
beating me up.
Yeah, gosh, but yeah, it's tough and traveling and doing this, but she understands. It's. And it's not only that. I think even not just her, but it's our 30 employees we have now. Like, they all understand. They see what I'm doing for the company, and we're a growing company. And I love promoting within. Like, I could hire managers and this and that from the outside, people with experience. But what happens is we have these young kids that do really well. They know the jobs, and instead of bringing somebody in, cutting them out, we like to just promote. You basically start in the warehouse now, and we move people into sales positions. We have our operations manager, Steven. He started when he was 18 years old, basically was running the warehouse. We needed an operations warehouse manager. It's like, dude, we're going to give you this opportunity. It's a big opportunity, and what happens is a lot of these young kids know we're growing. They see what I'm out doing for the company, and they see there's a great culture in our company, and they like it, and they see there's opportunities there. I want all of my employees to be able to afford cars, houses, have kids. Like, I just don't want I don't want to have dead-end jobs for people.
I was going to say, and feel like they're not in a dead-end job.
100%.
Actually feel like there's somewhere for them to go.
100%.
Like, I'm not just going to be putting a nut in a bag for the rest of my life.
Exactly. And they see that. I mean, we're constantly, we're growing like crazy. It's wild how much we're going through now. And it's not just all YouTube stuff. It's adding new products, which takes more people. And they see we do promote within, and like, everybody knows, and when we bring them in, we tell them this is a growing company. You work really hard, stay off your phone, things like that. There will be opportunities here for you. Our sales team, purchasing, we just brought a kid up, 21. Our outside salesperson, 21 years old. Like, and they all started basically in the warehouse.
Oh, that's really cool.
Yeah.
So I was just thinking while I was looking at this, I was like, man, like, I feel like that logo. I can imagine seeing it on like something like a car going down the track, or like even like something of like NASCAR level, like you know what I mean, like it almost seems like that could be like a logical next step for advertising and marketing, where it'd be like on the side of, I don't know if there's much return ROI on that kind of stuff, but it is something of interest. I think the ROI more comes from the marketing you guys would do with it, not from it being on TV. Yeah,
right, exactly.
Which is an interesting realization, that the social media, that like you'd have to extract the social media. And I say that about like even you working with like a YouTuber. Part of the ROI would be from you using their likeness for your marketing rather than them being the marketing driver.
Yeah.
It almost has to go the opposite way. Like the brand has to actually capitalize on what they did.
You're right. That's exactly right. And we do sponsor race cars. A lot of local racers. Like, we sponsor this 14-year-old racer. He's up and coming, does like the dirt track. And I'm not a major car guy. People think I am, but I'm really not. I'm a technology bolt guy. That's what I do. I do have a Camaro, but
sorry to hear that.
Yeah, just not gonna let you drive it.
That's fair.
I don't need that nose in the air.
Yeah,
but no, I'm kidding. But we do sponsor racers. We've been approached by like big race teams like NASCAR and stuff, but that is just so much money. Like what those guys ask, and it's per race. Like it's unbelievable. I mean, they rewrap those cars, I think, almost every race, and different sponsors for different races. I would love to, but my marketing budget just isn't there.
Yeah, you can't justify that. It's so much more fulfilling probably to work with like small YouTubers than like blow the marketing budget.
It is. It
end
is.
up on Fox.
Yeah, it is.
I
mean, I would love to, and don't get me wrong. But I mean, yeah, it just doesn't. And we reinvest. Like I'm a hard worker. I don't take a ton of money out of the company. Like I don't take a massive paycheck. I like to put the money back into the company, into my employees' pockets, so they can make more money, investing in new products, different YouTube things. So that's what I like to spend the money on. And yeah, I can't afford like, let's just say $500,000 for a NASCAR race for like a tiny logo. Like it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And even some of those like NASCAR teams, it's interesting to see some of like the smaller budget stuff. One time we were walking around the pits and like one team, everybody just had like whatever jackets they had because they have to wear the full fire suit. They had whatever fire suit they used last on. So like they all had mismatched fire suits. Like one of them had like GoDaddy, one of them had Papa John's, one of them had Home Depot because they were from other teams and they were just like hired for the weekend. And none of them had matching like
it's like thrift store fire suits. Yeah,
I know. I've never seen this. I was like, man, this is like real shoestring budget here. But
yeah.
They're still out there doing it.
Yeah, no, that's interesting. And we've definitely been reached out. I've reached out and talked to a couple as much as I would. Like, I just don't have that kind of money for that type of thing,
Yeah, I wonder, like, what... I don't know. I just think about, like, Garrett on Clay Milliken's car. Like, I wonder what...
Clay, I'm a huge fan of Clay. Clay, I would work with Clay, absolutely.
You really can't not be a fan of Clay.
Yeah,
he's such a good guy. It's like, it's impossible.
He's a fan of us, and we've done this weird thing now because I've been a guest on more automotive YouTube channels, I think, than anybody else. And people recognize me. When I'm at PRI, I get stopped. Like, it's like the weirdest thing. And I do my own YouTube channel. I can't keep up with it as much as I would like just because of all the business stuff and the kids at home. Like, it takes away from them. And so...
But that's your marketing power. You going to these people's shops, that's like your free marketing in a way is using... like filming at somebody else's shop.
It is. Yeah, it is. It is. And I would love to, but it takes so long to edit a video. But Clay at PRI came up to me. He's like, love you guys. He's like, I love what you do. He's like, I'm a huge fan. I'm like, what? I was like, me too. And like, I just couldn't believe it. I
don't know how he has time because he's a fan of everyone too.
Is he? Okay. Was it just me?
No, it's not. It's mostly you.
Okay. All right.
But I'm just saying, like, he's like a fan of car guy YouTubers, and it's like crazy. I don't know how he's got the time for that.
Super genuine guy. You can just tell from 2 seconds from talking to him. Really is. Even so much like these PRI Cletus events that we go to and set up booths. I freaking signed autographs. Like I'm signing an autograph. Like I can't believe
fans are crazy.
It's wild. Like I've seen you on the channels. Like you have to sign my hat, and like Cletus's name will be right there. I'm like, where do you want me to sign? Like, do I sign my last name too? Like, I don't have a signature. Like, what do you want?
You got to learn it. James had to learn his. I remember I watched James like get asked his first signature, and I was like, you're going to have to learn.
Yeah.
You got to get there.
I normally sign checks, It's like what I do. I'm a business guy first, Like, it's just, it's surreal sometimes.
Yeah, it's an interesting flip to the forward-facing, suddenly fans, and suddenly, like... Yeah, that Cletus universe is something
crazy. It's a storm.
Yeah,
it's a storm.
Don't get on the wrong side of it.
Yeah, and we make merch kits for him too. They sell the Cletus McFarland bolt kits, and man, it's really cool to see the response to those and like the fans using them on these like Facebook different channels and groups and whatnot, and like it's really cool. And I think they did very well. I don't know his full magnitude, but, to us, that was a really big deal for us. So.
Yeah, they're good for, like, the drag and drive community, too. That type of stuff, because...
We do one for Steve Morris. He has a drag and drive kit, which is really cool.
Oh, awesome.
It's got a little bit of everything in there. You're better off. It might not be able to fix your vehicle right there permanently, but it'll get you down the track again, That's the important thing.
One of the things that I always kept in my drag and drive was... like some kind of adhesive glue of some kind. I felt that,
Steve's, we don't have any glue. That's actually not bad.
Yeah, like some kind of
We'll put that
JB
in
Weld or
yours.
something.
Yeah.
I was like, this seems like a likely need.
So we do, his have duct tape and electrical tape. So it's close. You know, he was very adamant. He's like, because the first was like, how are we going to fit duct tape in a small metal box? But we found small duct tape and got it to fit. But he was very adamant. I want duct tape and I want electrical tape.
I flatten rolls sometimes, and they fit better in places.
Oh, yeah.
Because you can flatten a roll of duct tape.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like
Gotcha.
elongated
Yeah.
instead. You just have to like squish it down and get it wet or something.
Yeah, I mean,
And
hey,
it works pretty well.
makes it fit better. I mean, it's better than having a roll.
Exactly.
But yeah, so it's wild to be involved with Cletus and work that closely with him. And
Yeah.
he's a great guy. And as another little side note, but I'm working on my private pilot's license. Semi-inspired by him. I've always been the guy, like if I hear a helicopter, like I go running for a door to go look at it. Like I've always been that guy. I've always been fascinated by aviation. I grew up by our local county airport, just looking at planes, hearing them 24/7. And I told Cletus, this was about a month ago, like I told him, I'm like, hey man, I'm working on my PPL. And like he lit up. Like he was like so excited. He's like, how long you here? It's like, I'm here, I leave tomorrow night. He's like, meet me at my hangar at 7 a.m. I got to go flying with him. He took me up in the Carbon Cub. It was like very surreal.
That thing's such a cool plane.
Oh my gosh, it's like so cool.
Yeah.
And he told me too, like, you know, planes, they stall. Like if you're flying a plane, you go a certain angle, it'll stall, meaning you don't have wind going over your wings anymore. Not that it's not the engine stopping, it's that your wings are no longer producing lift. You're stalling the plane, it's going to start falling. And those Carbon Cubs like defy gravity. You can take off in like, I don't know, like 20 feet or whatever and land in 20 feet. You don't need a huge runway. It's
crazy.
Unbelievable.
The first time we went up in it, it was like I had never been around it. I get into it, we go up in it, and like within 20 minutes he goes, your plane.
That's it.
And I'm like, you dirtbag. And I've known Garrett so long that like he kind of knew I was going to have to just kind of like steer the plane at that point. And he made me land it within like the first
really
20 minutes. It was when it still had wheels on it. It didn't have the floats.
Yeah.
We actually landed it at his airport before he owned it.
Oh, really?
And it was pretty interesting. But like, you know, I've flown RC planes enough, so I have a concept of it.
Same.
But so quickly was he just like, yep, all right. And it's a training plane, so you can fly from the back seat, which makes it even weirder because now you're flying over someone's shoulder.
You're looking over his shoulder trying to see the instruments. Like, I'm like, what is our altitude? I can't see over you, you know?
Yeah. I wasn't even thinking about that. I was just like, keep it nose up.
Yeah, nose up, right. Yeah, not nose down.
Yeah, I was just trying to keep level.
Yeah, that was super cool. He had the pontoons on. We landed in a couple local lakes. He showed me like how it's done and, you know, watching gators. Like we're coming in, gators are like scattering out, and we landed at his airport, which is just super cool. I mean,
my wife was like, would you get your license? I'm like, I would if I was prepared to own something that could fly. That's my only problem. It's like, it would be awesome, but if I'm not prepared to actually like have something to fly, it's kind of like, you know, getting a driver's license but never having a car to drive.
Right, exactly.
That was my only hold of them. Like, it seems like a lot to not actually be like in preparation of buying something.
Right. And so my goal is to get a company plane at some point after I get my license. And
that makes sense.
You know, I travel so much. Like I'm going to Minnesota to see Sea Boys, and there's no direct flight from Cleveland or Zach Millennial Farmer. Like if I could just hop in my plane and fly myself there, like I don't have to deal with all the TSA stuff and security lines and leaving at 5 a.m. and like it's just Cletus is living the dream. I'd love to walk out of my house, get on my airfield, and just take off, you know?
Yep, that would be a great move. Get in your helicopter and fly to your plane.
Now, I asked him about helicopters. He said those are way more difficult to fly. I'm sticking with planes for right now, but I at some point, like I would...
But like the laws on a helicopter are so weird. Like, I mean, I'm fine with it. I actually support no laws at all, but them being like that loose is crazy.
Yeah,
like,
no, you just take off anywhere.
Everything else is so strict.
I've seen him like, you know, like just coming in. It's like, where's Cletus at? You just like, just like literally, lands his copter right there.
Yeah.
Like you can land those things anywhere, I'm pretty sure. Like
That's what I mean.
yeah, it's like wild. Yeah.
The only thing I support is, I own my airspace.
Yeah.
That's where I get,
Yeah. Stay out of your airspace.
I think I should own the airspace above my house, and that's where it gets controversial.
Do you have one of those drone cannons, like shooting down drones?
The controversy is that it's not drones that fly over my house, it's personal aircraft. So shooting one of those down might be a little bit more
You'll make the
Al-Qaeda-y.
You'll make the news.
I will definitely make the news if I shoot down a Delta airline.
Oh, gosh.
They always fly over my house, though,
Yeah.
Take the highways.
Well, Florida's like, man, it's the Wild West down here. You guys have like way more aircraft in the air. Like it just.
They were flying 100 feet above my house the other day, spraying for mosquitoes. I didn't know this was going to happen.
Oh, really?
They're 100 feet over my house in a helicopter spraying for mosquitoes.
They told you it was for mosquitoes, Cooper.
Well, they didn't tell me anything.
Oh,
I
that's
looked it
even
up,
worse.
And it said it was owned by Manatee County Mosquito Control. I'm
sure it wasn't clouds they were trying to make? No,
I don't know. Why were they doing it at midnight? I couldn't see what they were doing.
They're trying to neutralize your podcast.
Well, and even like when you look it up, it's like the chemicals they're spraying. They're like,
yeah,
you can stay inside if you want, but you don't have to. I'm like, well, should I?
Yeah, I don't. You're right. I mean, that's odd. I mean,
Maybe
they always had
should.
the mosquito trucks when I was a kid, so I'm kind of just like. I put probably too much trust in the guy. I just assume that they're doing all the right things. Now, since the internet's been
I
out,
assume the opposite.
yeah, I'm starting to question more and more things, especially with food and all this stuff. So,
Yeah.
especially having kids now, like it really makes me think, and I want to protect them from stuff. But, yeah,
Did you see the other day I was posting about McMaster-Carr?
No, I didn't see it.
I posted, I was like, who really owns it? Because it's basically a mystery.
Yeah.
Did you realize that there's no
No.
forward-facing ownership? It started in 1901 and
So,
it's still hidden who actually owns it.
no, I didn't know that. I've been in McMaster-Carr plants, and they are insanely awesome. Like, they have been
I know it's kind of your competition, but
I mean,
they sell a lot that you don't.
They do, but they're a great company. My father's company supplied McMaster-Carr all their flange bolts. Like, he did all the packaging and stuff. So I've been in their plants, and they're like state of the art. I've been to the Elmhurst, when I worked for him, the Elmhurst location, and it was like everything was automated before things were automated. They were state of the art. It was really cool to see from a tech standpoint. And they do it right. Like, if you need something that day, you can go get it that day,
I guess their website has a dozen patents on it too.
Does it?
The
Okay.
layout and
the catalog style.
the way that it works, which is crazy in itself.
Yeah. No, it's good. I they're a great company. I mean, I don't get them wrong, but yeah, it's interesting. I didn't know that. I'll have to look into that.
Yeah,
It's a mystery.
there's no real, it's just who owns it, and there's no actual clear.
Was this a story you saw, or was this something you found out, or
This is something I've heard.
Okay.
And I finally started digging into it, and it's you can't really tell. They're very secretive company, privately owned still after 100 years.
Maybe I'll have to do an
Which
Andy
is
the
weird.
Bolt Guy segment on that or something. That's
You would
interesting.
probably be great to hear from on it.
That's
because
interesting.
it
Yeah, I'll have
doesn't
to
make
look into
sense.
that. I definitely know some managers and whatnot there, but yeah, a kid on our baseball team, my son's baseball team, his dad works for McMaster-Carr. Maybe I'll ask him.
Yeah, I guess they
NDAs.
have 800,000 things they keep in stock,
Yeah.
SKUs.
It's unbelievable. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, they're a great company. I don't know how their pricing is compared to ours. Ours is great, but
It's far more expensive. Their stuff.
I won't say it, but
I don't know.
I won't bash them, but yeah, great company. You need something that day, they're reliable, and that to me is important. Just like what we do with our company. So
Yeah, interesting. Well, we'll wrap this up, man. I know you got to get back to Chris and help him install some cabinets or whatever it is.
Thanks,
there.
Cooper. I appreciate
Yeah,
you.
I'm glad you came on.
Thanks
That was
for-
a good time.
Yeah, thanks for letting me on, and congratulations on becoming a father.
Thank you. It's been fun.
It's probably tough now. It gets better, trust me. But
It's pretty great now. I will say
how old?
it's pretty great. He's 8 months.
8 months. Okay, he's a little older. Yeah, that
Yeah.
infancy stage that's tough.
He's really smart, really happy, and laughs
That's
at
awesome, man.
everything, super easily entertained, which is cool. Easily entertained, but needs constant
Yeah.
stimulant. You
Yeah.
won't, you can't just sit him down and he'll just hang out.
He's gonna like drag cars. That's gonna be his thing.
That'd
Just
be
keep him on
great.
the cars, man. Yeah.
That'd be great. Well, thanks for coming on, man. All the stuff will be down in the description where to find you at.
Yeah.
All the good stuff. I mean, it's
Thanks.
links in the bio.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, good deal,
Thanks.
man.
Yep.
See you later.
See ya.